Welcome to episode 2 of Let's Be Frank. I'm Michael Essy here with Frank the Tank. And Frank, that Packers game was a little rough for you.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. The Vikings looked very good last week. Packers dropped ball for a touchdown from 2 yards out, couldn't get it in. Vikings did look good. There's nothing else I can really say.
Yeah, you owe me dinner. That's all you can really say. What you can say is, where do you want to go to dinner? That's what you can say.
I got the Big Mac app deal at the McDonald's.
Yeah, you wish it would be as cheap as McDonald's. Anyway, speaking of our picks last week, Frank went 2-2. I went 2-2. We lost the Dakota Dog of the Week, and we lost the teaser bet. We'll do better for you guys this week. Not a great start, but it was week 1, and who knows what could happen. So let's just get right into it. So the first game of the week is going to be Thursday Night Football, Chargers at Chiefs. Frank has the line at +3. I have the line at +4. The opening lines that we have, just to let you guys know, are from before the week 1 games, and then the lines now are obviously the current lines. So the opening line was +2.5, juiced up to -125, and the current line is +4.5, so it's been bet up a little bit. This game's a pass for me. The offense with Mahomes looked fantastic. Tyreek Hill not being there didn't seem to be a problem. I will say the Cards' defense is very banged up, so that might have something to do with it. But he spread it out to 9 different receivers. 9 different receivers caught a pass. The reason I can't get on this game, though, is the Chargers' defense looked really good last week. They had 6 sacks, and their offense looked really good. No sacks allowed, no turnovers. They also picked Derek Carr off 3 times. I just can't get to either side on this game, so it's a pass for me.
I like the Chargers in this game. I have it at +3. The line's +4.5. The Chargers look good. I like their defense. I like the Mac coming over from the Bears. He had a team-high 6 tackles, 4 hits on the quarterback, 2 sacks in the first half, and his 3rd sack came in the final play where he actually stripped the ball from Carr of the ball.
So you're taking Chargers +4.5.
Yes, last year Chargers actually beat Kansas at Kansas 30-24, and the year before they beat them at Kansas 38-21. I'm getting over a field goal. I'm sticking with the Chargers.
Sounds good. Let's move on to the next game. Panthers at Giants. Frank has the line at +2.5. I have the line at +2.5. The opening line was +1, -115, and the current line is +2.5 for the Panthers. This is a pass for me. I lean Giants. The Giants had 238 yards rushing last week against a solid Titans defense, or what's supposed to be solid. But they allowed 5 sacks, and they gave the ball up twice, and they were not very efficient on 3rd down. They did hold Derrick Henry or the Titans as a whole to 93 yards rushing. This Panthers team was unimpressive. It was one of my wins last week, picking the Browns against them. It went to the wire, but the Browns rushed all over them. They allowed 217 rush yards, so I think the Giants might be able to replicate what they did last week against Tennessee. There's just not enough value there for me, so it's going to be a pass, but lean Giants.
Definitely a pass for me. I have no really say on the Giants. Apparently the running back is back. That's for sure. Good old boy from Penn State.
Yeah, Saquon looked really good last week.
Onward with the Pats and the Steelers. I have it at pass +3.5. Mike, you have it at +3. Opening line was -1.5. And now it's Pats -1.5 still.
Yeah, it's juiced a little bit to the Pats.
You know, I like Trubisky. He 21 and 38 for 194 yards. But you also got to remember, when I picked the Steelers last week at +6.5, and I said it and I will say it again, it's an interdivision game. Steelers were embarrassed twice last year. They had this game marked on the calendar. Do you believe that line went up to 7.5?
I know. I bet it as soon as I got to the sportsbook Sunday morning.
Okay. All right, let's go with the Bucks. Oh, I have no say on this game.
Frank's
sorry.
trying to skip me over here. What the heck is going on?
I'm sorry. Go
Jeez,
ahead.
you're not going to give me a chance to talk
No,
about
no.
the game.
I'm sorry,
It is
buddy.
the Let's Be Frank podcast.
Yes, right.
Frank is being Frank, though.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway, moving on. Sticking with the Pats and the Steelers, I like the Steelers here. I lean to the Steelers. I think they're a good bet. I have the line at +3. Frank has it at +3.5. So we think that the Patriots are going to be underdogs here. And that Steelers defense last week was immaculate. It was beautiful. They first forced 5 turnovers. The Steelers offense was a little bit lackluster, but I mean, we kind of expected that. The Patriots, on the other hand, their offense was terrible, but they did hold the Miami Dolphins offense to 307 yards total yardage. So they looked pretty good on defense, but the offense couldn't get anything going. And Mac Jones has a back injury, so we might be seeing Brian Hoyer in this game. I don't think so. I lean Steelers, and I lean the under at 40.5.
You know, Michael, you're changing my mind on this game a little bit. I am going to start maybe leaning toward the Steelers because like I said last week, I'm a very defensive-minded gambler, and Steelers defense does look good, and I do have them in my top 10 in defenses. Yes, I think the defense alone at home could beat the Pats. And why is this line so low? Explain this to me.
I don't know. It smells, and
yes,
it's
it
a
does.
little bit while I am not betting it and I'm leaning it. I mean, we'll get into
if
the
it
Steelers
smells like a rat
later.
and looks like a rat,
It's
there's
a rat.
a lot of ratting going on. So I will lean toward the Steelers with you, Mike. All right, let's move on.
So Bucks at Saints. You and I both have this line at a pick'em. It opened up at -2.5, -125 for the Bucks, and it's still at -2.5, but now it's -135. So you're paying a lot of juice to get that -3 win condition with the Bucks. This is a lean to the Saints for me, but a pass if I can't get +3. If it gets up to +3, +3.5, I'll definitely be looking at taking the Saints. The Bucks looked good last week on defense. Their Fournette looked really good on offense. The other pieces were okay. Julio Jones, the new pickup for the Bucks at wide receiver, looked good, but Godwin won't be playing for the next couple weeks with a hamstring injury. So the Saints, on the other hand, squeaked out a victory against the Falcons. Jameis Winston and the Saints had nothing going on in the first quarter or the second quarter, the first half entirely, actually. But that second half, it looked like they finally let Jameis Winston go. He went 18 for 24 with 245 passing yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half compared to 5 for 10, 24 yards, and 3 sacks in the first half.
That could be first game jitters for him.
Yeah. Well, I think the offensive play calling also, they were just not letting him let him throw the ball. I don't know if they were concerned with his interception problems or what, but then they let him loose in that second half, and he really impressed me, and he came back and won that game for the Saints.
16 points in the fourth quarter to come back and beat them.
I know.
That's impressive right there.
It's very impressive.
But again, it's also Atlanta Falcons and the not very good defense.
No, not at all.
All right, so what are you going to do with this game?
I lean the Saints. If I can get it at +3, +3.5, I'll probably be taking the Saints on the spread. But I also really like the under 44, but I'm not sure on that one as well. It's a lean for me on both.
I'm just going to do a pass on this game.
Okay. Moving on to Jets at Browns. I have it at +5.5. You have it at +5.5. It opened at +5.5, and it's still, you guessed it, +5.5. This is a pass for me. The Browns D looked great. Brissett didn't look very good, though. The Browns' rush offense was really solid, which we knew. The Jets were down the whole game, and with Flacco, they didn't look that great. It's just a pass. Maybe Browns, but no, I just pass for me.
Make this real easy.
Yeah. Moving on to Dolphins at the Ravens. You have it at +3.5. I have it at +4. It opened at +4.5 for the Dolphins, and now it's down to +3.5. So I lean Ravens here, but I actually like the under 44.5 more than anything. Neither are a bet for me, but both defenses looked good, and both offenses looked kind of average. So getting 44.5, I think I might take the under here, but for right now, it's a pass. Lean under 44.5.
Wow. I like the Ravens, but I have this line right dead nuts on. I'm still not sure what the Dolphins have yet, so I'm going to wait and see. Definitely, it's not a very interesting game for me at this point, so I'm going to pass.
I think it's an interesting game, but I just can't find an edge there. But we'll move on to the next one. Colts at Jags. You have the line at -5.5. I have the line at -6. It opened at -4.5, and it's still -4.5. What do you think about this game, Frank?
Okay, we got a revenge game. Am I right? The Jags knocked them out of the playoffs
That's right.
last
In
year.
the last game of the year, the Colts could not pull it off.
Oh, and the Colts, didn't they have a tie last week?
They did against the Texans.
Oh, my God. Against the Texans, they tied.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, maybe looking ahead to this game, though.
They could be. Yeah, they have that. Maybe they marked this game down on their calendar, too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So what are you thinking?
I don't know. I have the line at 5.5. To me, it's a fair line. And the Jags are at home. Oh, I'm going to pass.
Yeah, I might surprise you here, but I'm actually taking the Colts. I have the line -6, and as I know that the Colts tied the Texans last week, but this is a revenge game for them. I think they're going to have it circled on their calendars, and I know Matt Ryan didn't play in the game last year, but he was impressive last week. They had 2 turnovers, but they had 517 yards of total offense to the Texans' 299. They just turned the ball over at bad times. Both turnovers were in the Texans' side of the field, and they had bad penalties. 7 penalties for 89 yards, also bad timing. And they could have won the game, but they missed the field goal to win in overtime, which was so frustrating because I took them live. And they actually cut their kicker that missed that field goal. So
Did they really?
they did. And not to mention on the Jag side of things, they had 13 penalties for 90 yards. And their running game looked really good, but Trevor Lawrence just kind of looked ho-hum. The defense looked solid, but I don't know. I
Gotta
just
like the
really,
revenge. If you're gonna play, you gotta go for at least the revenge part of it.
I really like the Colts here, so I'm going to take them at -4.5.
All right, let's move on to the Commanders versus the Lions. Yes. Go ahead.
So I have the line at +3. You have the line at +3. Opened at -1 for the Commanders and swapped to +1.5 for the Commanders. So we have the lines here as favorites, and we actually are both going to bet this game, surprisingly. Swift was amazing last week. 15 carries, 144 yards rushing, 3 catches, 31 yards receiving. The Lions were 10 for 17 on 3rd down.
We actually got to watch this game.
We did get to watch this game.
And Philadelphia looked good. But I'm not going to take nothing away from Philadelphia. Detroit came back at the end of that game. And I agree with Michael here. The Swift was swift. So, yes, I'm with Michael on this. I'm taking Detroit -1.5. Might even play the money line at this point. It'd be cheaper than the 1.5. So, anyways, I'm going with the Lions.
Yeah, I like the Lions too, and we all know my distaste for Carson Wentz, and he had an okay game last week, but he did have 2 picks. So I'm seeing a couple more picks in his future this next week. But we'll move it along onto the Seahawks at the 49ers.
Oh my God. Here we are.
How about them Seahawks, huh?
How about them Seahawks and Geno Smith? Whoa. Geno Smith went 23 for 28, 195 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Looked good. I mean, he definitely had a crowd behind him, and you also got him in that game. The Broncos defense did not live up to par in that game. Well, we'll talk about the Broncos when we get to the Broncos. I'm not touching this game. 49ers did me in last week. That
they did.
That quarterback, I'm sorry, the coach for the 49ers, you seen this kid in preseason, you worked with him. How did you not see that this kid holds the ball for more than 5 seconds? Just too much for a kid who's only played, what would you say he played last year? 4 games?
I don't have the number right here off the top
Okay,
of my head, but it was a couple games. He played in a couple games.
So this is the championship team. And this is not a rebuilding team. Bring back Jimmy G.
Wow, calling for Jimmy. I think that's a little bit of an overreaction, to be honest with you. I'm throwing this whole 49ers-Bears game out the window. I'm not even paying attention to it. I'm not looking at the stats for it. I'm not looking anything at it. It was like a kiddie pool out there. There was water all over the place. They were sliding all over the place. They couldn't hold on to the ball. They were soaking wet. I'm just throwing the whole game out. I'm not even going to count it. I actually liked the 49ers here, kind of, but the line opened at plus 8.5, and now it's at plus 9.5, so it's just too rich for me because I have plus 7 and you have plus 6. I like some of these teams that lost in the first week in upsets, like the 49ers and the Broncos, and they're playing these teams that upset other teams, like the Seahawks, and the Texans didn't beat the Colts, but they did tie the Colts. And I just like that there could be an angle there to get some value if the public starts banging the other side. But it's too rich for me right now, so it's going to be a pass.
I'm going to pass on this game also. Let's see Geno Smith produce some more big numbers, and let's see Seattle. I mean, they had 2 new offensive linemen, one from Washington State and one from Mississippi, I think it was. But anyways, they look good. I mean, they gave Geno Smith some protection, gave him some time to throw. All right, I'm going to pass on this game for now. It's not saying I might not take that plus 9.5 later on.
Moving on to the next one, Falcons at Rams. So for this game, Frank is plus 8. I have plus 9.5. The opening line was plus 13.5, actually, but after that impressive Falcons performance and that unimpressive Rams performance, it's down to plus 10.5. This is a pass for me. I wish I could get the Rams at plus 9.5 or something below 10, because then I might play them. But they were pretty embarrassed by the Bills, and Cam Akers, who had so much hype in training camp, just did actually nothing. Stafford had 3 picks. Allen Robinson, who I talked about last week, didn't produce at all. They had no preseason playing time, any of them. Maybe that's a component. I don't know, but the Falcons were pretty impressive last week. Cordell Patterson was impressive. Marcus Mariota was pretty impressive. I mean, they almost beat the Saints, who you and I both think pretty highly of. And so it's a pass for me. The line is just too high, but if it comes down a little bit more, I might be looking at the side of Rams.
Going to pass. I think the line's kind of high. Rams should come back very angry after, and they had some rest too. So they should beat this team by 35 points.
Wow, 35 points.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit of an over-exaggeration.
No. I think they're going to come out mean and ugly. That defense is going to come out mean and ugly. Why am I not just laying the 10.5? Tell me why I'm not laying 10.5.
Because it's too
As we're
high.
talking about this game, I'm getting more and more excited about it. Falcons defense is still the Falcons defense. And like you said, the Saints quarterback, he threw for all those yardage in the second half. Maybe Falcons defense is just starting to fall in the second half. I'm going to definitely lean toward the Rams.
Okay. I could see it. Moving on to the next game, Texans at the Broncos. You have the line at plus 9. I have it at plus 10. The opening line was plus 10.5, and now the line is at plus 9.5 for the Texans. I lean Broncos here. Listen, I want to talk about this Broncos team a little bit.
Go for it.
That might have been the worst coaching job I have ever seen
you're
by
going
a
to
head
blame the
coach.
coach and not the crowd that kind of was very loud and kind of got those guys a little ruffled?
Listen, the crowd was amazing. It was so loud. I mean, we live in Washington here, and everyone loves their Seahawks. And it being kind of a revenge game, if you will, against Russell Wilson, I knew the crowd was going to be loud. But I guess the coach didn't, because he wanted to do a cadence count when snapping the ball, which, as you know, you've been to CenturyLink Field. I've been to CenturyLink Field. It gets very, very loud in there. It's just not possible. The play calling was bad. On 4th and 5 at the end of the game, he wastes a bunch of time, then uses one of his 3 timeouts, and then decides to kick a field goal 64 yards, his kicker is 1 for 8 from that distance, or long 60 yards plus. He's 1 for 8. I mean, it's just.
I actually thought they were going to go for it.
They should have gone. If you're going to pay someone, Frank.
And you let that clock run down to 20 seconds.
I know. If you're going to pay someone $225 million, how do you not put the ball in his hands? I don't know.
Totally agree.
I was impressed with Javonte Williams. But, like I said, the play calling, they weren't.
4th and 5. With 30 seconds left, all you guys get the first down, maybe 1 down and out to get it down to 3 seconds.
I know. Or if you want to kick the field goal, but don't use the timeout. That way, if you miss,
you know 64-yarder is almost impossible. Not even for him, but for a lot of kickers.
Yeah, I mean, he had the distance on it. I don't know. But you don't use the timeout. You don't waste time like that because you have the chance to get the ball back by using 3 timeouts, and then you give Russell another shot. So if you're going to go for the field goal, don't burn the timeout. Don't burn the clock. That's just embarrassing. And then he used one of his timeouts while the Seahawks were kneeling, which is just disrespectful as a coach.
All right. I think
I'm sorry. I'm getting
no,
fired
that's
up.
okay because I know Broncos was one of your bets last week.
I know. They burned me.
Hey, just like the Frisco guy burned me.
I know.
I mean, you told me to be careful about a quarterback that has not played long, and I should have listened to you. I did throw a fact at you that Monday night is a dog at home, but I actually looked up some stats on that, but we'll talk about that later. Again, we do live in the state of Washington. I'm so happy for the Seattle fans. This morning, just looking at people's smile on their face, it felt kind of good that they did beat them. I'm going to make one more statement about this game. Washington fans, Wilson took you to 2 Super Bowls. I do not understand the booing of Wilson when he came out. Give the guy some credit, all right? This is a business. He went for the money. We were ready to move on. That's all it's to it. But at least give the guy, man, he's been your man for a long time.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not gonna rain on that tear for a while. So let's just move on to the Cardinals-Raider game.
Well, I do want to say one thing on this game, Frank, before we move on. I do lean Broncos. I have it at +10. It's at +9.5. I lean Broncos. I want to take them. But after that coaching performance, I can't do it. So I'm going to lean them, but it's probably not going to be a play for me. I just need to sit back, and I think they'll crush the Texans, but I thought about the Colts last week, so I guess we'll just see. But like you said, let's move on to the Cardinals-Raiders. Cardinals at the Raiders. You have it at +10, Frank. I have it at +4. The line opened at +2.5, and now it's +5.5. So tell us, Frank, why do you have it at +10?
Well, I could be looking in the overhype of Carr and Devontae Adams, though they did look good last week against San Diego. I mean, they can actually beat San Diego last week. I mean, if it wasn't for Chargers defense and the MAC, Raiders could have came back and won that game. Actually, I was sweating that game at the end there because I ended up taking the Chargers late in the afternoon. I took the Chargers late in the afternoon. Before the line was changed after Sunday, they were +2.5, the Cardinals. Raiders are -2.5. I love the Raiders under a field goal. Loved it. When they reopened the lines on Sunday night, it went to Raiders -3.5. I still liked it at 3.5. This game has moved so fast, it's now up to 5.5. Cardinals just looked bad last week, but, we saw the Cardinals get crushed by Kansas on TV. We saw Carr and their offensive line just kind of fall apart during that game. Raiders are at home. Actually, under a touchdown, I'm going to lean the Raiders. I just don't understand why the line's opened up at 2.5 or 3.5.
A little bit fishy, huh?
A little bit too fishy, and we're at 5.5. So I'm going to lean the Raiders. We'll talk about picks in a little bit. And that's about it for me on this game here.
Yeah.
I also want to mention one more thing.
Go ahead, Frank.
We talked about when we make our lines and we look at our lines and we see a big difference in a line. I'm going to say 80% of the time when the Baltimore Ravens in the first week, when we saw it at 4.5 and I had it 8.5, it eventually moved up to 7. We should have jumped on it at 4. Same thing with this Raiders game. We could have got it at -2.5. That's a lot of value. And now the line's already moving up to +5.5. You might even see 6 or 7 by game time. It just depends on what the public does at the end of the week where they come in at this. So I'm just saying that, again, fellow gamblers, make your line before the lines come out and compare them to the lines that you see. If you see a number this different, circle it, study it, figure out why the line is that way.
And bet it soon.
And bet it soon, because these numbers will move. Yes, you're right, Michael. I totally agree with you.
You don't want to wait till Sunday morning when the line's at, -7 for the Raiders, and you had it at -10, and you could have got it at -2.5. So.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the Bengals Cowboys.
Man, that's the second time
Did I cut
past
you off
me.
again?
Second time.
Oh my God, I'm throwing you under the bus today.
This is ridiculous. I know.
I'm so sorry, buddy.
I'll make it quick for you because clearly you don't want me to talk about this game. But like I said,
Go ahead. I do want your opinion, actually, because you have this at +4.
Thanks. I'm glad that you want my opinion.
Yeah. Go ahead, buddy.
I have this game at +4. It's a pass for me, plain and simple.
Why do you have it at +4 and I have it at +10?
Well, the Cardinals are banged up. The Cardinals are banged up on offense and defense, and I agree with you. But Carr had 3 picks. The Carr to Devontae Adams connection looked pretty solid. Josh Jacobs actually surprisingly did very well, but the O-line could not protect Carr. And the defense for the Raiders looked solid. At 5.5, I loved it at -2.5 too. I'm right there with you. But at 5.5, I just don't feel the values there for me. This Cardinals offense can still be very good. So I think it might turn into a bit of a shootout, but I'm not really sure on that. So it's just a pass for the game for me.
I kind of agree with you. Again, I'm a little bit worried about the 5.5. Why was the line at 3.5? You got it at 4. So yeah, let's just go. Let's just be careful with this game.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
So Bengals at the Cowboys. You have it at -6. I have it at -7. It opened at +2.5. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will say it opened at +2.5, but that was before, like I said, the Week 1 games were played. It was before Dak Prescott got injured. So we're going to be seeing Cooper Rush here as the quarterback for the Cowboys, and now the line is -7.5, juiced to -120. So this is going to be a pass for me. I liked the Bengals here. Last week we talked about it a little bit, and when that +2.5 line came out, I actually circled it, and I said, ooh, I like the Bengals here. I think they're going to win the game. So I'll take the plus money. Obviously, with Dak Prescott getting injured, sadly, I lose all that value on the line. The Bengals, though, they could have won last week. They missed the field goal for the win. Shanked just a chip shot. They didn't cut their kicker like the Colts, though. But their offense looked really good. They had 5 turnovers again, which was a huge factor to why they lost that game. How much was it Burrow? How much was it the Steelers' defense? I personally think it was more the Steelers' defense. The Cowboys' defense looked good, but now with a backup quarterback, and even with Dak there, the offense didn't look good. It's a pass for me because it's -7.5. If this gets down to -6.5, I'm taking the Bengals. So lean Bengals, anything less than 7, but it's a pass at 7.5.
I'm going with, excuse me again. I'm going with pass. I think the Cowboys at home, God, I just don't see the Cowboys going 0-2, and I definitely don't see the Bengals going 0-2. I'm going to pass. Move on.
Moving on to Bears at the Packers, your beloved Packers, your losing Packers, your, well, let's just say it, pathetic Packers. So we have the line. You have it at 7.5, +7.5 for the Bears. I have it at +8 for the Bears. The line opened up at +9.5 for the Bears, and it's still at +9.5 for the Bears. So the Packers are a pretty heavy favorite here. man, does losing Devontae Adams make a huge difference for that Packers team. I mean, they just looked like they had no pass catchers out there. The running backs looked great, but they looked like the best wide receivers on that offense. The D was impressive, as we suspected, but I'm not willing to lay 9.5 here. I already talked about the Bears-49ers game. I'm throwing the whole game out. So I was hoping for a discounted line here since the Bears beat the 49ers, but there's nothing. There's no value
I think the 49ers
here.
beat the 49ers in that game, personally. Bears still, I mean, they had 45 yards with total yards with 3 minutes left going in the second half. They just did not look that good. Packers, on the other hand, even missing all their players, looked good against the Vikings. Again, still outplayed. I need to do more homework on this game before I can make a judgment. I don't even know if any of the Packers players playing that were hurt last week coming back this week. I don't even know. Again, I got to do more homework on this game before I make any judgment on this. And I also want to make another note to our gamblers out there. When you make a pick in the beginning of the week, like I did with the Packers, and I don't care how much you put on it, and you find out near the end of the week that you've lost players, because we're betting early on Sunday night or Monday morning. Wednesday is when most of your injury reports come out. If you see that your team has lost players, hedge your bet. Give up the juice. Don't take the loss. Just get out of the game. And you're going to see a lot of this during the year, especially if you're making your lines and you see that big line difference and you make your bet and then you find out you lost your running back or your quarterback or whatever. Get out of the game. Just eat the juice. It's worth it. Trust me. All right, let's
just touch on one little thing there, Frank. So Lazard and Bakhtiari and Jenkins were out last week. I haven't heard anything on that yet, but just keep your eyes open on that injury report because having Lazard back and having that chemistry with Rodgers could make a big difference in this game if you're looking to bet it. But
yes.
Let's move on to Titans at Bills. So
okay.
I have the line at +6.5. Frank has the line at +8.5. The line opened at +7.5 and has moved 2 points to +9.5. Listen, this makes me feel dirty saying this. It does. It does. But I like the Titans in this game. I know they blew a lead against the Giants. They let the Giants have their first win since 2016, their first opening day win.
For the Giants.
The first opening day win for the Giants, yes.
You do know the Titans have lost, counting this year, 4 of the last 5 years against the spread on opening day.
That I did not know that, but that is
another fun fact.
Another fun fact.
Which you can get out of the Mark Lawrence book if you check it out the last couple years in the record book. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I like this Titans team. They didn't run the ball very well last week, but actually Tannehill had a pretty good day passing the ball. They also allowed a ton of rush yards, which I kind of mentioned on earlier against the Giants. And this Bills team's rushing offense isn't as impressive, but man, did they look impressive passing the ball. 9 for 10 on third down.
Woo, Josh Allen, man, he's the man.
He looks so good.
He looked like he didn't miss a beat coming off that playoff game with Kansas.
No, he looked angry, honestly.
Very
and Von Miller looks like he's that Super Bowl MVP caliber. He looks like he's 21.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't know how many sacks he had.
Yeah,
I didn't really look it up.
2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. It was very, very impressive.
That could eat the Titans up alone.
I know, but the thing for me is I have this line at +6.5, and I have to follow my lines. And if I can get this at +10, I have to take it. I'm going to take it at +9.5, but I am looking into buying it to +10 or +10.5, which I don't.
Definitely buy a point, get it over the 10.5.
I don't really like buying lines, but in this situation, I know it feels dirty, ladies and gentlemen, but I like the Titans +6.5.
I'm going to throw another fun fact in here. Actually, the Titans beat Buffalo last year on a Monday night, 34-31, and they were getting +6, and now they're getting +9.5. Oh, what do we do with that?
I don't know. It's a revenge game, which scares me even more on the Titans. Thank you,
A
Frank.
revenge game on a Monday night.
I know.
Oh.
What do you think about this game, Frank? What do you got?
You got guts. I'm with you though. If I can get 10.5, I would take the Titans. Definitely take the Titans on this game. I like the points.
So you lean Titans?
I think the game could be a shootout. What would you say the total was 54.5 or something like that?
No, not on this game. On this game, I think it's 49.5.
49.5. This could be a shootout.
You may be thinking over?
Wow. I'm just gonna pass. Let's just say that. I'm leaning toward the 10.5 if I can get the 10.5. Let's move on.
Okay, moving on to the last game of the week, Vikings at Eagles.
Wow.
You have it at +2.5. I have it at +2. Opened at +2, and it's now +1.5 for the Vikings, so they're small underdogs. I am so happy that my victorious Vikings won last week against you, winning me a free dinner. That Cousins to Jefferson duo was just amazing. I mean, Jefferson, if you guys are into fantasy, dropped 40 fantasy points on me in my fantasy league. And the D looked solid. They had that one early blown assignment where the guy dropped the ball, thank God. But they looked pretty good. I like the Vikings this year. I said it last week. I like them again. I don't really think there's much value for me. I'll get into maybe a different play that I see value in with the Vikings, though. The Eagles looked good last week. They almost blew the lead and blew the game against the Lions, and Swift torched them up. He just destroyed them. And Dalvin Cook and Swift are very, very, very similar. But that Hurts and A.J. Brown duo was super dynamic. And I just think that there's not enough value here for me to play either side. But when we get to our picks, I'll tell you what I am doing with it. What do you think, Frank?
Excuse me again. We were looking at last week the Eagles, and we passed on the Eagles because we wanted to see what Hurts was going to do. He had a total of 333 yards last week, or this week, and 243 yards passing and 99 yards rushing. This line, I got this. This line is where I have it at. I still like to see another week or two with the Eagles. Eagles have a weak schedule. I don't think the Vikings is considered a weak team. So I'm going to pass on this game. But if I was forced to bet this game, I would probably take the Eagles. I might even take the Eagles just for kicks and giggles by the time Monday night comes. We'll see.
Wow, do you want another heads-up bet? You Eagles, me Vikings?
No.
No, you don't want to lose again.
No, I'm not. I just want to see.
Yeah, I understand. It's
when
okay.
Hurts comes across again.
It's okay. I get it.
Fine.
You don't want to lose.
Way.
You don't want to lose 2 dinners in a row.
I'll find another game. Give me some time.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on to our picks. So, Frank, tell us your picks for the week.
All right, my friend. Definitely going with Detroit -1.5. I love that game. Under a field goal. Again, I might even take the money line on that. I'm going with the Raiders. I like the Raiders on the money line. And me and Michael talked about this quite a bit. Because I'm just not trusting that 5.5 at this point. 2.5 would have been much better. I definitely should have bet it earlier. Under a field goal, but now we're at money line. I also even thinking about parlaying the Raiders in Detroit because I'm getting -240 and probably Detroit at -1.5. I'm not sure what their number would be, but it can't be much. I like the Chargers +4.5. I think this is a field goal game. If not, the Chargers beat them. Could they beat them 3 years in a row? Or it's be the third
3
year.
3 games in the last 2 years?
Yeah,
I don't think
at
so.
Kansas.
I don't think so, but
All right. I'm still going with the Chargers. Go ahead.
okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have the Titans +9.5. Might be buying it to +10.5. I know it makes you guys feel a little bit dirty, but just trust me on this. It's good value. I'm with Frank on Detroit -1.5. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Detroit's my team. I've done a lot of research on this team. Wentz is terrible. Detroit's got it -1.5. Colts -4.5 in the revenge game. Matt Ryan and Jonathan Taylor are going to come out and just absolutely destroy this Jags team. And then my last bet, a little bit weird, back to that Vikings game. I've got Vikings and Steelers in a 2-team teaser, -120. Love both these teams. Don't see value on the short line, but it makes for a perfect 2-team teaser bet. And let's wrap it up with the Dakota Dog of the Week. I have Saints moneyline +122 and Frank has Steelers moneyline +102 for a nice parlay payout, if you ask me, of +348. Then we have our teaser of the week, Steelers +7.5 and Lions +4.5.
Well, Michael, thank you for another great episode. And remember, do your homework. Also, a great tool I like to use is the Mark Lawrence's Playbook. Check it out. It will help you. Thank you, guys.
Another shout out just to our great producer, Steven. It wouldn't be possible without him. And let's cash these tickets.